Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Lots of fun. Much like Canucks games today. All of our guests today, including Craig Button standing by, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort, located oceanside in beautiful Parksville. Rick's getting excited. The Bayside Resort is one of Vancouver Island's premier spots to get away, unwind, and recharge. Call now to book your reservation and mention Donnie and Dolly for 10% off your nightly room rate. Book your island getaway at BaysideOceanfrontResort.com or call 250-248-8333. From Sot and Kitts to Ladies OK Tire and Langley inbox, poker is not a sport. We had a big argument in the previous segment for those people just tuning in. Not a big argument, a good discussion. Craig Button, TSN Scouting Director, joining us now, as he often does on a Tuesday. Craig, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm not a poker player. I'm not a gambler. But I've seen enough people sitting at a poker table that sweat. So I don't know how that qualifies as a sport or not as a sport, but when you're sweating, something's going on.
Craig, I'm not going down this avenue. I did years and years ago, and I haven't heard the end of it. Hey, should a player have to answer the bell? Looking back to yesterday's game, Schenn versus Benn, should a player have to answer the bell for delivering a clean hit?
No, you shouldn't. And at the end of the day, I mean, we see that happen lots, and so let me get this straight. We have body checking in the game. We have a rule book in the game. If you break the rules, the referee calls a penalty or should call a penalty. And if you deliver a clean body check, why should a player have to answer to them? Honestly, I understand on the ice and, you sit there and you want to talk about it and a player might do it. I would tell players, Jamie Benn, you delivered a hit. Tell Luke Schenn to go take a hike. That's what I would say to players. You know what? You fight on your terms, not on their terms, ever. If you feel you want to, okay, that's up to you. But never, ever should a player have to fight on another player's terms because you delivered a clean hit. Ever. That's how I feel about it.
We should point out that Luke Schenn did ask Jamie Benn if he wanted to go. Does that make things different?
Well, I mean, you asked him, right? Again, Jamie Benn can turn him down or not. It's up to Jamie Benn. I was answering your question that says, should they? No.
Okay.
I don't think you should. Seriously, should. I mean, it's the stupidity that went on. You remember when Thomas Hertl scored that between the legs goal? Oh, we can't have this type of play. Same stupidity that goes on with Zegras and everything. Oh, it shouldn't be allowed. Well, clean body checking is part of the game. I don't get it. Football, there's big hits delivered all the time if they're clean. Do you see a linebacker having to answer for his clean tackle on the running back or on the wide receiver? No. It's one of these things that in hockey I think is stupid.
Does it depend on who you're hitting, Craig? Because we're talking about Jamie Benn, big guy, hitting Quinn Hughes, star little guy.
Okay, so let me just ask you: should we put the star players in different uniforms and say, you know what, they're not allowed to be touched, right? So we're gonna have scales of body checking. Last time I looked, Jamie Benn won an Art Ross trophy. If you don't want to step out on the ice and understand that body checking is part of the game, and you might have to absorb one. Again, we're talking about a clean body check, not something dirty or egregious. Clean. There's no way. I hate it. I think it's dumb.
Moving on, Craig, last week we lost a great in Mike Bossy. Your memories of the late, great Mike Bossy?
Well, I grew up watching Mike Bossy. Mike's older brother, Pat, who's no longer with us, coached me in minor hockey. So,
really?
Watching the Bossy family, having a connection with the Bossy family through Pat, and, and I know Mike, and I knew Mike, and certainly, you're talking about somebody. To me, I mean, he reminded me a lot of Bob Gainey in this regard. They were are really comfortable in their own skin. This is who they are. They speak their minds. They hold positions. They were terrific players with respect to how they played the game, but they played it that was true to themselves. And they didn't waver. They didn't waver in how they played the game or how they talked about the game. And to me, that's what made Mike Bossy not only – we know what a great goal scorer was. I use this term. He was a courageous soul. Back in junior hockey, his team in Laval wasn't very good. They were middle of the team, and the good teams in that era, not only could they beat you, from a perspective of on the scoreboard, but they could beat you up. And they did, and they went after Mike Bossy. And, Mike said, I'm not going to be part of it. He came to the NHL. Mike Bossy told me that when he first started in the NHL, Clark Gillies pulled him aside. He said, hey, you just do what you got to do. We got your back. Now, if that isn't about teammates and everything, and we talk about the egregious part of the game, Mike said, I'm not going to fight that. And, he was courageous on the ice and paying the price. He was just as courageous in his beliefs. And, I'm going to go back to this. Imagine if Bob Gainey had to answer for every clean body check that he delivered. I mean, and he was big and strong. I mean, he would have had to fight 10 times a game, 800 times a year based on the way he played the game. So back to my other conversation about how dumb it is for a clean body check to have to be addressed. No.
Craig, just a little bit back to the Canucks. There's a kid out here playing really well. Podkolzin, career high 18 minutes last night, Craig. Career high 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points in his last 4 games. He's coming around. Craig. He was a healthy scratch earlier this season. He's peaking at the right time. Your thoughts on Mr. Podkolzin?
You know what I would say? I mean, I've watched this silly for a long
big fan
time.
of his. I know, yeah.
Watched the way, and you know I am. And, you don't just – I mean, we want players to step in the NHL and make an impact right away.
Right.
And certainly players take on different stages of managing, the challenges of the NHL. What I would say is forget what I have to say. Listening to how his teammates talked about him. Listening to what Bruce Boudreau said the other day when he said, you're not coming off the ice. Get back out there. I mean, that to me, when you play the game in such a manner that you have your coach talking about you in that way, when you have earned the respect of your teammates with respect to not only how you play, but how you prepare and how you go about your business, I think that speaks volumes. But what I would say to you, Rick, is that's exactly what I've seen from Vasily Podkolzin right from day one. Yeah. He's not interested in fiddling with the dials. He wants to be a difference maker in the game in some way, shape, or form. And what you're seeing is a player doing exactly that. And I think that when you consider, his level of play, he's able to play with good players. He's able to play in critical situations. He's never going to be an 80-point guy or a 70-point guy, but he's going to help you win. And that's a guy I want on my team.
Yep. Craig, Connor Bedard becomes the first Western Hockey League player to score 50 goals in a season at the age of 16. Youngest player ever to get 50 goals in a season in the Western Hockey League. He ends up with 51. Regina's not going to the playoffs. But we all know he's going to be top 2 in the 2023 draft. He's so special, but are there things he has to work on?
I don't, off the ice, his style, maybe. I don't know what kind of style he has. He's usually in a sport coat. I know we interviewed him before a game this year. He was wearing short shorts on the bench in an interview before a CHL game. Other than that, Donnie, I can't really say there's anything that he has to improve on. I mean, one of the things I've said this all the way through, very rarely do I see players in junior hockey that have an NHL quality shot. Most of them have average to below average shots, something they have to work on. Not Connor Bedard. I'd like to tell you he can improve on his shot. That shot is not only, of NHL quality right now, it's only going to get better. I'm going to tell you, I don't know if I've told you who it reminds me of. When I first was watching him play a couple years ago, you could see some different ideas of players that might fit the description of his game. And one of them, and I'm locked on him now, he reminds me so much of Steve Yzerman. It's frightening. Wow. The way he shoots the puck, the way he skates, the way he attacks, the way he competes. And I don't see any flaws in Connor Bedard's game. He's a pleasant young man. He's going to be captain of the U18 team. In my view, it hasn't been named. I'll be shocked. And for Hockey Canada and the U18 team to be able to have him come to their team, and so excited about playing I mean, what an opportunity for all these other players to play with him, to see him up close as a teammate, viewers to see him as we broadcast on TSN, the U18, and for the tournament itself. I mean, this is unbelievable for the U18 tournament, but you're looking at a special player. I'm ready to put a stake in the ground here too, guys. I'm ready, right here on your show.
Yes.
Okay. I know there's been lots of talk about Michkov and everything. Connor Bedard is the best player available for the 2023 draft.
Yeah.
We want to talk about who the second best player is. We can start talking about Michkov. In my view, Connor Bedard stands alone.
That statement was strong enough, Craig, but you emphasized it with the lean into the camera. That was outstanding drama there. It doesn't get – there's so much we could talk about right now, Freddie Anderson and Johnny Gaudreau. We need to get you on twice a week, but we're out of time right now, Craig. I apologize for that. Thanks so much for this. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Always my pleasure, and I'm dying to hear the background on the poker argument as a sport or not a sport, sometime in the future.
YouTube, Pratt versus Taylor poker.
Yep, that's it.
Check it out. It's,
okay.
It's infamous.
Done.
All right. Thanks, Craig.
See you guys.
Appreciate it.